Okay.
All right, I see it.
Hello, everyone. This is another cast of the StarCastTV Star League. It is a Terran versus Terran. We've got Barracks facing off versus Royal. Joining me once again is SaiyanSC. What's going on?
Hey, man. I'm looking forward to this TVT. We're getting right down to the semifinals, round of 4, match 1. Should be an exciting match.
Yeah, Barracks is on a bit of a heater. Royal's been playing really well, too. Let's take a look at our bracket so we can see what I'm talking about with Barracks' run in particular. He's taken down Snow. He's taken down JYJ, two players that you really think could win the whole thing. Looking at Royal's run, he took down Beast, and then he took down Hero, who I thought, wow, maybe SCSL could be his season or his tournament to take down, but he ended up losing 2-3 to Royal. So both players having a big run. TVT, I really like Royal's TVT. However, Barracks has been coached by Light for a long time, so maybe he could make a third upset, in my opinion. Let's take a look at our map picks. Remember, we had some good bans from Light in the TVT that he played versus Sharp. And, oh, I forgot, it's best of 7, there's no bans. So, we're going to just start off with Radion, then go Deja Vu, Pantheon, Dominator. To me, it looks like they just want to play standard maps because we've got Monty Hall, Minstrel, Kickback as the remaining 3.
Yeah, those are going to be the craziest maps by far. Radion, we're going to start off really nice and simple. I'm curious to see how Barracks will open and whether he's able to take down Royal. Like you said, he is on a heater right now. See if he can continue that success.
Let's see if he can as we get into game 1. Okay, in the top right, our purple Terran. We do have Barracks. And in the top left, our green Terran. We do have Royal. So Barracks...
Go ahead.
So Barracks, as I was saying, he's been coached by Light. And last week we saw Light just absolutely crush Sharp. He crushed him with a lot of good, solid Vulture timings. We also had the game where he literally just sat on the ramp on Deja Vu because he had the early game unit advantage. I feel like that's probably what we're going to see from Barracks. It's just a lot of good Vulture pressure.
I was going to ask you about the relationship between Barracks and Light. Are they on a similar team, or were they together on StarCraft University? Why is Barracks getting coaching from such a great player?
They definitely weren't on the same team because Light was on NBC Game, and I'm pretty sure Barracks was on KT. But I do remember there being a YouTube video of Light coaching Barracks in particular. There's several videos of Light coaching other Terran players. Somebody else that comes to mind is Scan. If you want to check out those videos, even though they're in Korean, you can go to Light's YouTube channel. And because of that, you can see that Barracks' play has upped quite considerably in the past, like 2 or 3 seasons of ASL. I also remember him mentioning he got coaching from Flash. So we'll see what he comes up with here. He's going to have a Proxy Rax. Now we saw, I think, Light do something similar, or was it Sharp do something similar versus Light? But this is just pressuring a gasless expand. And look at this, it's going to be 14 CC. However, the Barracks is a little bit too far away. Maybe Royal could be able to hold this?
It is a massive map. Radion, some of the longest rush distances that we have, and like you said, the Barracks is placed kind of far away from the natural. This is just such a mismatch in the build order. I wonder if Royal will be able to survive this pressure.
Yeah, it's going to be hard for Royal to hold this, but like I was saying last week, Marines versus SCVs are not the greatest. I could see a world where he barely gets up a bunker, barely holds it, but I guess the question to me is, if he holds it, how is he going to hold the follow-up? Because his gas is going to probably be messed up. His whole build order is probably going to be down the drain, like factory delayed. And we see that this was a 12 gas follow-up, and Barracks has nailed his factory timing. Artosis just made a video about the 230 factory timing. So this is going to be a solid follow-up. Royal really needs to make sure he takes as little damage as possible.
I saw that video as well, and Barracks, with that very early factory, the fastest you can possibly get out. He's going to have a Vulture in this natural so quick. We need a bunker and some Marines, but the Marine pressure is already on the way. And is he pulling SCVs as well? He is. So Barracks is going to have his own SCVs to kind of body block for these Marines. And it kills the SCV on the Barracks immediately. Doesn't even let this finish. It's so close, Nyoken.
Well, it just barely finishes, but this is what I was talking about. If he can, well, he pulls some SCVs here to help support the Marines. 6 SCVs normally would just slaughter this. But actually, the SCVs are getting some good shots off. Marines are not firing back. It's 3 versus 6. Make that 5 SCVs, and now Royal's going to have to run. Now, remember, I was talking about he's got to make sure his factory's not delayed. Look at Royal's factory. It hasn't even started yet. There's a bunker going up for Barracks. If this is over, man, if those get in. But the SCVs heroically are body blocking the majority of the Marines.
Both of the Marines of Royal go down, though, and some of these Marines do make it inside the bunker. There's nothing to put inside this bunker, Nyoken. I don't even think the Marines that pop out are going to be able to make it in. Vulture is coming. GG is called 1-0 here for Barracks.
Quick win for Barracks is just this flat-out build order win, even though the Barracks was not as close as it could have been. It doesn't matter, man. When he got the cancel on the racks, I was like, wow, I've seen that happen in my own ladder games. It's like 1 second away from finishing, and that's all he needed to turn that into a victory. The bunker obviously clutched there, but it was really good SCV control from Royal, I will say. He did body block a lot of the Marines from getting in, just barely not able to hold, but you saw the Vulture was on the way, and his factory hadn't even started. So if he hadn't died to the Marines, I'm sure he would have died to the Vulture.
For sure, and really important that he did all that damage to the SCV building the Barracks with his initial SCV so that the single Marine could come in and just snipe that Barracks building SCV at the very last moment. That was such a tight timing, and it slowed down the production of Marines for Royal just enough to allow him to get that easy win. So now we're going to be going on to Deja Vu with Royal behind. Will he risk another CC first?
Hey, once again with horizontal spawns, we've got Barracks in the bottom right. And in the bottom left, we do have Royal. Now, you asking if he's going to go for 14cc, I've noticed in the foreign scene, players do mix it up, like Terror in particular does mix up, alternating between builds, but I've noticed a lot of times, not just Terran players, but also Protoss players, if they 12 Nexus, they may 12 Nexus again in the follow-up games. So I think there is a chance that Royal will go 14cc again. However, that build that Barracks pulled out on Radeon with the proxy racks, I feel like that's a common follow-up or a common opener on Deja Vu. So I don't think Royal should 14cc here. If he wants to get greedy, maybe gasless, but not 14cc on Deja Vu.
This is the poker aspect of StarCraft Broodwar that we talk about a lot. Will he, won't he? Are you going to bluff? It's a mind game situation, especially in this matchup where the openers can matter so much. Pretty much in all matchups it's important, but here particularly going to lead to advantages that could win you these games. So rather than taking another CC first, I'd like to see Royal take a more traditional build, maybe open up with a similar build to what Barracks did in that last game. It looks like they're going to be pretty even on their build choices. Nothing out of the ordinary here with both players taking that 12 gas.
There is a slight difference. Actually, Royal did go 11 gas, but it looked like
really?
a 12 gas because Barracks had boosted his minerals so well on the right side that his 12 gas isn't even delayed compared to Royal's 11 gas. Now, 11 gas, I've experimented with this a lot in Terran versus Terran because I really think that it's very good in TVP because versus 12 Nexus, you can go snipe probes. But in Terran versus Terran, I've never found a window of opportunity where I have the Vulture like 3 to 4 seconds faster than 12 gas. I just can't really find a reason for go 11 gas. So I'm curious why Royal's gone for 11 gas, because you really never see this at the pro level. Is he going to continue to mine gas? Like, what is the purpose of this? Is he going to go like 3 vultures before putting the add-on?
Well, I'll rely on you for dissecting the intricacies of the TVT matchup. As a Zerg player, these type of things don't ever occur to me. What's the difference between 11 gas and 12 gas? But I'm sure there's something that Barracks has in mind, a pressure play that he wants to go for, or maybe he wants to expand a little bit quicker, or something like that. I have no idea, Nyoken. Let's take a look. As the SCV gets into this main base, he's going to get full scouting information and see that his opponent's gone for a pretty similar build to himself. Let's see his reaction.
Yeah. Did Ro just build 1 Marine? I think another one just came out. Oh no, that's the SCV off of the factory. So he built 1 Marine. This is pretty greedy, I guess. This is why he went for the 11 gas, so that he didn't have to build the 2nd Marine. As I've stated, Marines are not exactly the greatest in TVT, so maybe he will go 3 vultures here to make up for the loss of the Marine. And then if he thinks that Barracks has, cut a vulture, maybe he goes for an instant attack. We'll have to wait and see. Barracks' information, he probably saw that the factory timing was basically the same as his. So I don't think he suspects it, and it's 11 to gas, and it actually ends up being straight vulture into straight add-on.
Isn't this incredibly greedy? Nyoken going for just 1 Marine and then right into add-on? Like, there should be some sort of pressure that Barracks can do to him, am I right?
If he had just sent his first 2 vultures, he would kill Barracks. I mean, there's no other way to word it. This guy would be mega dead. He would have his SCV canceled. If he loses his vulture, he still may be mega dead. Hopefully he's got a tank coming out, because if this vulture dies, 1 vulture versus 2 plus Marines on the way, he's not going to be holding it.
Looks like he kind of messed up the follow micro there, but he might catch it on this corner. Oh, it's so close. Looks like he will probably lose the SCV on the... No, it's going to go right up the ramp. There's the tank, as you were talking about. Tank is going to pop out. Vulture will run in, try to get a little damage going. Actually, 2nd vulture, or 3rd vulture coming into the main as well. Going to go after some SCVs. I thought he would try to cancel the CC there, or kill the SCV building the CC, but he allows it to finish. Now he's got vultures here in the natural. Can Royal stabilize with just 1 tank?
That was a miss rally right there with that vulture. There's no way that he purposely let that get in there. He had already gone for a full scout, so he knows that there's no starport or anything. I agree, maybe he could have sniped that SCV in the... Wait a minute, where is the starport? Where did I... Oh, it's top right. I'm like looking at a Wraith in his base. I'm like, dude, where'd that Wraith come from?
This is crazy, Royal. Going for 1 Marine into add-on, into starport. The greed is unbelievable, and he's kind of gotten away with it. Barracks only able to deal a little bit of damage. Maybe kill... What did he get? 1 vulture and 1 SCV, and he lost 2 vultures?
Yeah, I see what the game plan is for Royal now. Is remember, Deja Vu has a ridiculous advantage if you can get onto the high ground. So that's why he went for the instant add-on, the instant, the fast 11 gas to get the fast factory. So he can just sit here and rally tanks across the map. He can use the Wraith to spot. However, just 2 tanks are not very powerful, which is why you see him turn around. Please don't connect. Okay, luckily that mine doesn't connect, because if it did, I think Barracks would just move across the map with what he had and be able to overrun those weakened tanks. But luckily the mine doesn't connect, and I think both sides are just going to be content with sitting on their side of the high ground.
So important that Barracks gets up here onto his high ground and prevents these tanks from just rolling onto his side of the map, setting up on that ledge and taking an extremely advantageous position. Now Barracks moving around the left-hand side. What do you make of this, Nyoken? Is he going to try and slip past behind the tanks and get into the natural, or what are we seeing here?
Yeah, I think he's hoping that Terran moved a little bit too far forward, but the SCV leads the way to see, okay, where are the tanks? He realizes that he can't sneak by. Even if he did sneak by, 3 Goliaths, 1 tank, again, not the highest DPS. Like, yes, he would force a full SCV pull, but he'd probably lose his whole army in return. So I'm not sure exactly what Barracks was really looking for with that move, but I think we're just going to sit in the center, make sure both players can get their own 3rd base, And what's our factory count looking like? It looks like 4 for both sides. Starport coming up for Barracks 2. That's interesting. I thought I would see his armory spinning if he's going to be building a starport that quickly, but no armory spinning. So is it just going to be a race switch?
Well, there's one starport on the side of Royal, so if you want a Wraith switch and you're already behind in Wraiths, it might be a good idea to build, multiple ports to try and accelerate ahead of your opponent. He's only done the one so far. I'm not sure if that's going to be a full-on Wraith switch or not. Pushing forward now with the tanks. Royal is dangerously close to this high ground, Nyoken. If he gets dominance over that area, and it looks like he will, how's Barracks going to break out of this?
Barracks is in a bit of trouble here. I actually think he should consider pulling SCVs, even though there's 5 tanks. Well, maybe not. 5 tanks with like a lot of ultra support is not going to... SCVs are not going to do work versus that. And actually, okay, this is doomsday scenario for Barracks now. Royal's gotten onto the sweet spot. All he has to do is make sure he doesn't die to a counterattack. And I feel like Royal's pretty much got this game. Like, the tank positioning is crazy. However, Barracks sneaks around, and now he's kind of... Oh, I thought he was going to get close enough to the ramp to prevent the rally point. Oh, he is!
Oh, he's going to get on top of that rally point, all right, and sending vultures into the main base as well. So he's going to wipe out these 2 vultures and then go for some SCVs. Some vultures on their way back. Actually going to run through that tank fire, and a lot of them lose their lives. And the rest are going to make their way up here with the rallies to deal with this vulture run by, but the tanks are hitting that... Okay, the starport did have to lift. He denies production on Wraiths for a little bit, and that starport that was made in the main, maybe he can make a couple of Wraiths come out here while denying reinforcements, kill off those tanks that are containing his natural. Barracks seems to be in a pretty reasonable position, actually, despite losing control over his high ground.
It's an awkward position for both sides getting contained. I like that Royal has the starport floating, so like he could get vision onto these tanks. Oh, these Wraiths. Oh. Okay, these Wraiths are going to be able to push these tanks back. But look, Vultures are going to run to the third base, shut that down. Look how many SCVs Barracks is down. He's got 5, or Royal also has 5 tanks to hit from the backside and the front at the same time. SCVs lead the charge.
Gonna pull. Oh my gosh, pandemonium here. As the tanks start to go down, the high ground is really helping out Barracks a lot, though.
And these tanks are just barely out of position. There's the one Goliath. I was sitting here wondering, like, can he actually race? You saw that he focused that one Goliath with his final tank shot, hoping that it was just one Goliath so he could kill the rest of the army with these 3 Wraiths. But 2 Goliaths here, easily going to push back 3 Wraiths. And that's still a lot of tanks for Royal. 7 tanks.
I'm extremely impressed with Barracks so far. I think that he took a very bad situation and turned it into a situation where he now has his high ground control. It's kind of evened out the game a lot. Another starport's going down. He has a dropship as well, but air control so far goes to Barracks, and he's already got his 3rd base up. This is reasonable. I mean, going around the army, it looked kind of scary for a moment, but the fact that he was able to get a bunch of Wraiths out while denying production on the starport for Royal means he was able to push back those tanks without having to run up that high ground, and he forced Barracks to run up into a high ground against him. So that's really what you always want to do in TVT. Force your opponent to attack up into your tanks and up into high ground. That's even better. And just never attack into your opponent's tank line. Just take better trades.
I think even though Barracks has the 3rd base right now, it's kind of an even-ish position. Like, yes, this 3rd base is going to be mega late, but... Oh! Tanks run into some mines. But Royal had a lot more SCVs than Barracks, so the 3rd base wasn't, like, fully operational for a long time. I think he's going to land this command center, be fully saturated. His tank count's really high. The one thing I am worried about with Royal, it's clearly Barracks has more raised. So he's definitely going to need to be careful to make sure he doesn't like lose a couple tanks in a key position and then instantly get pounced on by like tank vulture. That could be one way that Barracks, like shuts down bottom middle, for example. There's only 2 tanks really defending bottom middle. There's not very much there, but it looks like both players are setting up to split the map. We've got congestion over the center. We've got a lot of race at the bottom side. I think he's going to try and snipe some SCVs in a second.
Well, these wraiths have been building up slowly over time, and now it's quite a fearsome force. There is a Valkyrie, though. That Valkyrie is going to change the map a lot in the upcoming fight. I don't know if we have Cloak on either side. That could play a factor. Suddenly, if Barracks cloaks and guns down that Valkyrie, he might still be able to take a good trade, but here he comes. He's gonna... Oh, no. Hold position. I feel like he's got one Wraith in vision, and that might trigger Royal to come over here and deal with it. He does have Cloak. He's gonna be sending these Wraiths straight in. Looks like he's got a scan on the air army of Royal as he's attacking forward. He's creating a big distraction here. He's going to go right after the Valkyries. Valkyries are going to be gunned down immediately. As soon as those are gone, all of the Wraiths will get wiped up. And this is a perfect decision from Barracks. He just comes in and wins this air fight immediately. Now he can go to work on all these SCVs. I don't know how you come back from this.
Yeah, this was a perfect play. And the Valkyrie pops up, but they're not in sync. So they don't even get off a single shot. Now he's just going to run away. I mean, honestly, he should just run away. There's no reason to try and stay here. Well, I guess if he's going to gift another Valkyrie, does he not understand what's he doing?
Oh my goodness, he must not have had scan there. Scan energy is such an important resource in GVT. You're constantly spending scans to see where your opponent's army is moving and what the tech choices are, and looks like he overspent his scan. Doesn't have any scan for these Wraiths. They've done so much damage in the main and the natural. Now they're getting insane levels of kills in this third base, and like you were saying earlier, Nyoken, the only real advantage that Royal had was his SCV count. That advantage is gone, and the air advantage is starting to dominate this game. More kills. Actually, he's attacking the CC for some reason. Could have gotten a lot more out of those Vultures, but he's already done so much. I don't know how Royal comes back.
I don't either. Actually kind of curious. Oh my god, okay, there we go. 3 Valkyries. Yeah, this is why you saw him initially trying to build the Valkyries, because those Wraiths got shredded. But actually, I'm looking at the Valkyrie patrol micro and stuff, and I'm kind of like curious, like what was the turn rate in this game? Because it's very rare to see players like Royal not get their shots off with the Valkyries, but he finally basically deals with the Wraiths. They're heavily damaged, so it buys him a lot of time. And even though there's so much damage, I was going to say Royal's got 4 bases, but there's 4, 5 6 drop ships. If he can just escort these drops to the bottom side of the map, there are no turrets, no anti-air, clearly, because Valkyries don't really do very well versus dropship when there are only 1 or 2 Valkyries. This is going to be a massive doom drop. He could drop at the third, but I really think he should just go in the main.
Yeah, this is kind of a killing blow. If this base gets fully dropped into the main. It's already been Royal slowed down so much. He's had such a hard time dealing with those Wraiths, and now bringing even some Goliaths in with this, he's going to be able to keep his dropship safe for the most part. And he's killing so many more SCVs. What is this transfer? This is the transfer from the third, I think, just got sent all the way into the main to die. Every SCV at that base is gone now, dropping down to just 39 workers. Here comes another transfer of workers. Where are they all coming from? They're going into their death. A Valkyrie of Barracks has been sent out as well, countering the Valkyries of last, and that excess base is not going to matter. GG is called. Royal taps out.
That was really good play from both sides. I really liked the idea from Royal to set up the big contain outside of Deja Vu, but he just didn't get the tank count high enough. And I also like the Barracks' to try and keep the tanks back. Like, hey, if you're going to try and set up a contain, I'm going to counter you. And that bought him a lot of time. Also, the race switch, somehow he caught up in race. And clearly that did devastating damage. But now that puts Barracks up 2-0. What is going on, man? This guy is on fire. So let's get into game 3 now. It's going to be another standard map, this time Pantheon. Okay, here we go. In the top left, so cross spawn this time, we've got Royal. And in the bottom right, we do have Barracks. Now Pantheon, another big map. Big just like Radion. You know, even though it is 128 by 128, I mean, Pantheon's pathing just makes it feel big to me. So I think there's, again, another good chance that Royal could go for 14cc. So if Barracks goes for a proxy Rax, I wouldn't hate it. I would actually think that's a pretty smart move.
I think it might be more likely we see Barracks go for something like a 14cc. Now that he's ahead, he's got the lead. All the pressure is off. It feels terribly bad as Royal if you go for 14cc again and you lose, falling even further behind. But if you go for a 14cc as Barracks right now and you end up losing that game, you can kind of just shrug it off, right? So taking risks from a position like this, probably more likely. I don't know though. Is Barracks known for going 14cc in TVT? I don't watch a lot of his TVT.
I think pretty much all the Terrans at this level have the ability to just 14cc on a win. And I think that Royal is thinking kind of like what you're thinking is, well, this guy's up 2-0. He may just try and get a free win by going 14cc. So I'm going to proxy a Rax. But Barracks is just playing normal. It's 12 gas once again. And, okay, it's going to be 12 gas from Royal here. So pretty much similar builds, but Royal was really hoping it was gasless or 14cc. And will Barracks scout it? I don't think he will. Oh, maybe he will. He's got it. He's got the angle.
Kind of surprised he sends this cross map, but he is going to get a good scout. Sees the Barracks. Can he actually stop this SCV from building? That would be insanely bad for Royal. This series has already gone pretty terribly, but it's just gonna get worse if this SCV. Okay, he gets it just barely. If that SCV dies, it delays the Barracks by so much, and you're not even going to be able to hit your factory timing. Look at this, factory is already a little bit late, about 2 seconds later for Royal. That must be because of the mineral boosting on the right hand side for Barracks. Am I right?
The boosting and the fact that he had to send the SCV out to Proxy. His gas was like 2 to 3 seconds faster. Is this literally just one Marine from both sides and then just a lifted Rax? I think... Oh no, there's the second Marine for Barracks, so he's playing safe. You do have to be careful with proxy Rax like this, because there could be a proxy factory, but it's Barracks going for a proxy factory. Oh, Royal, he smells it. He's like, I know you're up to no good. Will the Marine find it? The answer is no, because he's just heading home.
My goodness. 2 Marines built here for Barracks. He's going to be able to push that back, or that Barracks back very quickly. It's always funny when players name themselves after a building or a unit in the game. Always feels a little bit weird casting and talking about the unit and their name at the same time. Just feels awkward, doesn't it, Nyoken?
Yeah, sometimes I say Barracks and I'm like, do I need to specify that I'm talking about the player or the building here? It is awkward sometimes. But I'm curious what the follow-up is going to be for Royal. He goes for an instant add-on versus a player that's gone to factory with a proxy factory. Now, if he can get out a tank, he's going to be okay, but I don't think he's going to get the tank out. Also, because he only built 1 Marine, there's no point to have a bunker, so there's no chance of there being bunkers. This game may already be over.
Yeah, this is a build order loss if I've ever seen one now. And he's going to pull the boys. All the SCVs are coming out. But the micro here from Barracks, so far so good. Oh, is he going to get this around? Oh my god, he gets it. Wow.
That's huge. That's actually
all he needed to do was keep that vulture alive. That's it. You just got to keep that alive. Going over to the right-hand side, you're going to have way more room to micro, but he moves to the left and gets trapped. It's still incredibly bad, and it might just end the game anyway, but at least he's managed to kill that first vulture. Oh, 3 vultures are here now. This is so much damage, Nyoken.
Yeah, you one-shot SCVs with 3, so this is catastrophic damage. As long as he can stay like close to like 15 SCVs, I would say that this is playable, because remember his command center... Oh, actually his command center's not done. I was going to say his command center's done, but it's not. So there's no way he's going to catch up in workers.
No, he needs to get this SCV down now and finish that CC up, but I mean, the CC from Barracks it's on the way as well. It's going to be done here soon. He's a huge amount of workers ahead. It's like 8 workers advantage, and it's going to get worse as more vultures run by. This one's going to make its way over to the main. Looks like it won't be able to get any more damage, but just any SCV kills at this point, it's so painful for Royal to take that sort of damage. It's just, yeah, when the more damage you've received, every additional bit of damage. Oh god, he's moving out with his tanks. Yeah. Nyoken, why is he not staying at home? There's vultures coming from another angle that are just going right into the main.
I think he knows that he has to be on the offensive here to try and catch up. Actually, this is a strong attack from Royal, because I think Barracks like skipped his armory or didn't get it on time, because I was really expecting to see Goliaths here. And vultures just do almost no damage to tanks. So if this was like horizontal spawns, where he could easily rally vultures across the map, Barracks might be in trouble. But because it's cross spawn, I still think he's gonna hold. Oh, he's got mines. That's why he doesn't have any Goliaths out here. He's just rushed the add-on to get a lot of mines, and now these tanks are probably just gonna get cut off.
Yeah, they're gonna get trapped over here in this corner. The SCVs are still chasing, but I don't think they even need to at this point. The tanks are just, they're locked in. Oh my gosh, we missed that mine connection. I don't know how much died there. Could have been huge damage on those SCVs, but it looks like it wasn't. A lot of them still alive. Tank comes out, snipes the other tank, and this is starting to get cleaned up. More vultures are being rallied across by Barracks as well. Some SCVs going down in this natural. But, I mean, how many SCVs do you need to kill here as Royal to even out the game state? I think it's like 20 SCVs.
He's got to do a lot of work here. However, the vulture count is ramping up. He's going to kill this tank, and there's going to be multiple, or okay, that's not a Royal vulture there. I thought it was 2 vultures versus 0. You got to remember also, Barracks is doing damage with his proxy factory that's across the map. Like I saw him go for a counterattack just a minute ago. Now he's syncing all of his ultras together. He's got 5 versus 2. I think Barracks has pretty much done it at this point. He's held the attack, and now he's got speed kicking in.
Yeah, that's maybe going to be the nail in the coffin. Mines is not going to save you with only 2 vultures in the natural and just so many rallying forward. GG is called. Too much for Royal to handle. It was a interesting counterattack that he tried to pull off. It sort of looked like it might work for a moment, but the advantage was way too big for Barracks off of that opener.
Yeah, ridiculous amounts of damage with the vultures. I think if it was horizontal spawn where he can get the tanks and vultures there just a little bit quicker, maybe he could have actually won, because that type of counterattack is really strong when you're so heavy on vultures for so long. But cross spawn, it's a little bit too big of a travel distance, and I can't even believe it. We've got a 3-0 so far for Barracks. If this was a best of 5, the series already over. But it is best of 7, so there is potential for the reverse sweep. But I don't know, man. There's been no point in these games where I thought Royal was doing very well, except for maybe the initial stages of Deja Vu. I really do think that Royal's got to switch it up or something, because the early game, Barracks is just crushing. So in the mid-right, we do have Barracks, and in the bottom left, we do have Royal. Now, Dominator is another one of those maps where you can easily get contained, so I feel like we may see another 11 gas from Royal here, trying to get a fast tank and try and control the map in the early stages, but I would be worried that this guy might proxy factory me again. I would be worried that maybe this guy, 14 CCs now that he's up 3-0.
Basically, Barracks can do whatever he wants. He's got so much leeway in this series. It's going to take, Royal winning 4 games in a row for him to lose. That's pretty unlikely. And so taking a risk here and hoping for a quick win, I think is a very reasonable proposition. But if Royal is expecting something like that, something crazy, a proxy or a 14cc, then just playing straight up might also give him a very easy, smooth victory.
It's going to be a proxy racks. Actually, as I was thinking about what Barracks should do. I was thinking he should consider 8 racksing here because I think the chances that Royal builds a forward racks like right here is pretty high. And 8 racks actually kind of shuts down that type of play. But it's just going to be forward racks versus proxy racks. So it's going to... Oh, no, it's not. It's going to be 14 CC. Oh, wait. Okay. It's just a delayed racks. I was looking at Barracks' money. It's at 250. So this racks is really late. I kind of don't like this because of how late it is. Like, you're not going to even be able to punish gasless anymore, but at least it's really close to the main. Like, at least he's gotten the racks in the right position.
Yeah, this is definitely going to be for a scout right now. Can just build a Marine, maybe 2, fly into the main base, get that full scouting information. You're not going to be able to put on any pressure with such a late racks here as Barracks. Yeah, it would have been interesting to see him go for an 8 racks there. If he had basically reading the mind of Royal and just completely dominating him this series, if that were the case. It's like we got a little bit of lag here, but everything smoothing out now. Royal heading his SCV over towards that base. He's going to miss the racks in the middle, but when he sees the direction of this SCV, he might be a little suspicious.
The angle is quite weird, and I was going to say, even though this racks is late, it still could have punished Royal, because thinking back to previous games, Royal's gone for 1 Marine in, what, 2 out of the 3 games? Something like that? So, like, building 3 Marines here would have just been ridiculous damage. He could have also kept the SCV alive and, like, built a bunker on the high ground, but it ends up being 1 Marine for Barracks, I think, and then he just starts floating. So this time around, he's got the advantage. He's not going to get punished because he only built 1 Marine, because generally pro players don't attack with like 2 Marines and 1 Vulture. So he'll be able to get his command center up a little bit faster. And there it goes.
I see nothing but advantages here for Barracks so far. Built less Marines, he's safer, he has the Barracks floating in, he's got the full scout. It's just now that we see Royal getting in here to see what's going on. He sees his CC is slower. He is going to start to put damage on that Barracks, but there's nothing really he can do to bring himself into an advantage from this spot. He's just got to kind of eat the difference and try to catch up later on as tanks and vultures and all that good stuff comes out.
I was just about to say, I think the only way Barracks could get punished is if he goes for an instant add-on, but of course, okay, it's going to be 3 vultures, and a lot of time when you build 3 vultures, it means you're going to rally it across the map. So I am worried that Barracks has gotten a little bit too greedy here. I was also going to say, is Barracks has a big advantage with that floating racks. Like, there's no way that this guy could ever go starport or anything other than like 2 to 3 factories, because Barracks is going to see everything, right? And 1 fact, 1 port is very, very flimsy. So it seems very obvious that this is going to be a 3 fact play. But is he going to send these 3 vultures? He really needs to send them.
He's bringing them together now, but he hasn't sent them forward yet. We're going to have a tank before those 3 vultures make it up here. Yeah, I really agree with you here, Nyoken. Feels like a missed opportunity, Royal, not sending those in to battle 1 versus 3. But now that there's 3 vultures here on the side of Barracks and likely a tank coming soon, it really doesn't seem like there's going to be much damage, and we've got a 3 SCV lead. He's gotten his factories down a little bit ahead of Royal. Again, just all advantages going Barracks' way in the series.
Of 3 workers. Doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're cutting this hard, that's a big advantage. I was talking about in the light versus sharp game, like, that guy really knows how to optimize his build, get as many SCVs as he possibly can, while also building as many vultures as he possibly can. Now, Royal has caught up the worker difference, but those 3 SCVs have been mining a lot longer. Now, Barracks is on the move. You gotta remember, Dominator has a lot of high ground. So if there's 1 bad engagement and somebody went speed, this game could be over in a hurry. So hopefully Barracks doesn't misstep here. Hopefully Royal doesn't misstep either. But it is mirrored builds. It's 3 fact versus 3 fact. But I see a building going down bottom left. It doesn't necessarily mean that that's a starport, but I think that's a starport positioned type of building.
Well, it seems like Barracks is starting to cut. There's a starport for Royal. There could be a moment where Barracks has an opportunity to overwhelm Royal with his vultures. He's built a bunch of factories here. He's really prioritizing his vultures. I don't think he has a 4th factory up, but I expected him to throw that down when he's cutting SCVs. Seems like maybe just a lapse in SCV production for a moment. I'm not sure what that was all about, but somehow Royal has caught up.
At the highest levels, you got to know when to cut and know when to not cut. It can be really hard to manage when you're at the lower level because you're not really sure when to do it, but these players, they know what the best optimizations are, and Barracks, even though he's down 2 workers, he's even in supply, so that means that his army value is stronger, and also he's got 2 tanks here. So 2 tanks with probably very close to even vulture count is crazy. He still doesn't know what the upgrade is for Royal. If Royal had gone mines, there would be mines everywhere, which is why you see Barracks not even making an attempt to move out onto the map. But if he knew it was speed, I guarantee you he would be leading the charge with these tanks and just trying to go for a killing blow.
So that's where his money went. Well, mines is going to finish up now, and those tanks are going to have a hard time crossing this map if Royal actually moves out and places more mines around. Barracks is not really going to be able to move too far, but Royal's a little bit scared right now of moving his vultures around the map. If they get caught by a larger force of vultures, he could end up just losing everything. So he's being very cautious with his moves, keeping his vultures close to his own high ground and backing away as soon as Barracks starts to move out. When are these wraiths going to start to come online? That starport has been done for a while. This wraith army could be getting some good harassment right now. Okay, it's a drop actually. Wait, I thought he was going to be making wraiths, but a drop is heading around the top side of the map. He's going the long way around Nyoken. He's going to hit the main, possibly while the next attack has started, but there's already vultures here waiting. That's kind of funny to see from Barracks.
Yeah, Barracks snuck in a vulture about a minute ago and saw the starport, and he also saw that there's probably no armory. So I actually was thinking he may like follow up with double starport, like 2-port wraith, to try and just overwhelm in the wraith count. But I guess he saw the add-on too. That's why he's got the vulture sitting here and waiting. Both players not building a 3rd command center. I'm surprised that there's no 3rd command center, but we've got the drop coming in, and now the tank count is pretty decent for Royal, so he's not really under any threat. This really does look like we're gonna probably go into like a longish game because I can't really see either player making an attack right now.
Yeah, I'm impressed with Royal, how he's been able to even out this game, but he's at a pretty big deficit when it comes to his supply. He's starting to even that out a little bit more as his worker count is now higher than his opponent, but neither player looking to expand just yet. You can see Royal setting up mines to prevent an easy expansion coming down for Barracks, but both players are moving, jockeying for position, looking for where they can set up these tank lines. High grounds are going to be prioritized, but it looks like Barracks wants to move to the middle of the map, possibly to surround Royal's army and cordon him off in the bottom left-hand corner.
And be careful with this. I mean, luckily Royal doesn't have vision of where Barracks moved, but this move looks like what he tried to do on Deja Vu, which is cut off the rally point. But if Royal takes advantage of this, like, oh, you're out of position, and just instantly moves all of his tanks on the right side to a Barracks rally point, then Barracks could be the one that gets contained. But it looks like Royal's not going to move there. He's going to instead focus on making sure he doesn't get contained. And I think, oh wow, that is a lot of tanks all clumped up.
This big clump of tanks is going to take a lot of damage from the splash as Royal tries to target down into the center of that clump, but Barracks keeps all of his tanks alive. He trades out a lot of vultures. I think that was a reasonable fight for Barracks there, but he needs to back up here soon.
Yeah, there's a race for sure. I just saw a bunch of green go towards the center, and they really want to pick off those tanks because they've taken a lot of damage from just a couple of tank shots. And Barracks, it was a great idea. I was thinking, like, I wish he had 2 SCVs there to repair, because I knew that the race were going to be coming. But now he's going to lose, what, like 3-4 tanks? And he did get a couple of tanks himself, admittedly. But I like Royal's position better. He still got that control over that, what, mid-right center? He's starting to expand himself.
Yeah, it's surprising that Barracks didn't predict or prevent these wraiths from doing so much damage. He should have known that that was coming after a dropship comes in. Even if you didn't scout the starport, you should know, and he definitely scouted the starport, so he should have known that there would be wraiths coming out to help with this defense. So moving around the left-hand side, although it's a great idea, if you don't bring anti-air and you know your opponent is going to have wraiths, what are you really doing? Barracks is going to come out with an SCV now. He does have Goliaths on the way. Both players expanding towards each other. I'm sure that's going to work out perfectly.
This is actually a really big advantage for Royal right now. Okay, he's getting a little far forward with the tanks, but he's got those wraiths to get vision. We still don't know if he has cloak. Look, he just picks off 2 tanks immediately. He loses 1 now. Well, that's so many tanks on the high ground. I guess Royal or Barracks will clean this up, but I still like Royal's position, mostly because he's got bottom middle. That's going to be a contested base, and he easily took it. So, like, as the game goes further and further along, you know, when they go split map, he's most likely just going to be up 1 base the whole time. He's also taking a 4th base now. I really like Royal's spot.
Very hard to split a 3-player map, but it can be done, can happen. We could end up taking this game late. Cloak is done for Royal, and so he's just going to dive on top of this. Meanwhile, a drop comes into the main as well. This time, Barracks is not fully prepared for that. He's starting to be pulled apart pretty heavily here, dropping below 100 supply. We'll clear out that drop, but his SCV count is severely diminished, and he's losing even more to these wraiths while desperately trying to get Goliaths into position.
Terran versus Terran, like every unit you build is very expensive. The tanks, wraiths, Goliaths, they're all not cheap. So being at 55 SCVs is not ideal in Terran versus Terran. Oh, look at that. Did he just go into vision, or did he just get a lucky scan off? Either way. Oh, actually, Barracks is going to blow up this base. I thought that it was going to be Royal taking down the tanks. Now this command center's under threat. Where are the wraiths? Did they all die?
I'm not sure about the wraiths, actually. I think they must have run away. I heard them attacking over at this 3rd base for Barracks, but they seem to have disappeared. Pushing forward, Royal trying to save this base. Looks like he will win this tank fight. Losing vision for a moment there. Barracks is going to try to get in range of that CC, but I think he can only hit the gas geyser from this location. He can't actually kill the CC, and so Royal is still going to continue mining at this base, and mining out part of Barracks' side of the map is going to be huge with that late game split, as you were talking about.
I would love to see Royal go like 2 starport mass dropships now, because he knows that all the pressure is at bottom middle. He knows that, you know, Barracks has to defend there while also trying to deny that base in general, because like you said, if we split, it's going to be a mass. Well, because of that, you know all the units are going to be there. Just go for mass dropships and drop in his main. But, oh, he's gone for race switch. See you, race.
Yeah, these wraiths aren't going to stand a chance. The Goliaths are there, picking off quite a few. There's only 2 remaining, so it's going to be up to Barracks to just keep on scanning over and over and over again to make sure that Royal isn't pushing forward. Oh, Valkyrie. Yeah, gonna just kind of fly in here, not really getting anything done. A little bit late to the party as all the wraiths of Barracks have been killed. But yeah, he is just gonna have to keep on scanning to make sure that Royal doesn't push forward, and that means Royal's gonna have an opportunity to do something like you were talking about earlier. Get a drop together, fly it around the map, and maybe do some damage to Barracks on the other side of the map.
Barracks desperately needs to get another base. He's still just 3 base versus 4. We're almost at the point in the game where mains and naturals are going to start being mined out. So he needs to get one ASAP. But speaking of bases, Royal takes a 5th base now.
Yeah, the base count in TVT, it's probably the matchup where base count matters the least, but it still will impact this game as time goes on. 75 workers as well. Royal has cranked up his economy to late game levels. This is where he's going to be able to pump out just masses of tanks, Goliaths, vultures, and dropships to start really putting the pressure onto Barracks. And Barracks, without the air advantage, is going to struggle mightily to shut down those type of drop plays. Plus, he's going to have to keep a lot of stuff on the front line to make sure that breakthroughs don't happen. We've got Vultures here getting cleaned up over at top center as Barracks tries to throw down multiple expansions. Looks like he's going to double expand over to the top right, but he's spreading himself out pretty darn thin. There's going to be opportunities for Royal as he continues to burst forward in supply. I guess he needs to get another gas going, though. He's having a hard time spending all his minerals right now.
Somehow the army value is in favor of Barracks because he's down 16 workers, but basically even in supply. I'm like looking at the mini map and I'm thinking, you know, if we were to split as is, Royal would have 9 bases versus 6. So really, Royal doesn't need to do anything. He just needs to not lose the game. Like, he doesn't need to make this move, but he's pushing. His tanks took a lot of damage, but look how many tanks there are. There's no way Barracks can deal with that.
Yeah, Barracks is just going to get shoved back, and now he's in danger of losing control over the top right. Royal is pushing forward confidently, knowing that he is in a strong position, and knowing that there's very little that Barracks can do in terms of recourse. He's actually going to push through the middle of the map. What do you think about this play, Nyoken? He's going to go for a counter, but he's going to give up bases in the top right.
I think he's desperate. You know, it'd be different if it was like Terran versus Zerg or Terran versus Protoss, but trying to make a move like this, I guess he's going to cut off top left, which is fine, but... And like, yes, he's cut off those tanks that are isolated at top middle, but those are still 10 tanks. They're going to be so cost effective.
Yeah, this battle right here tells the story. All of Barracks' tanks have been sent up here to try and get this attack going, to get this counter attack going, but they're going to be completely surrounded. Look, tanks from the north, tanks from the south. Everything gets destroyed. Only 3 Vultures left. They're going to be able to kill a lot of SCVs, but eventually Royal will clear all of this up, and so many tanks have been given up. Barracks is going to have a real hard time re-establishing this tank line.
Well, you can see what the plan was, is he felt like if he made that move, it would force Royal to move his tanks, which he did, and Barracks is maybe barely going to get into range of that command center. So if he can get in range of the command center, he is going to deny the command center while also, you know, securing the ground that lets him get his top middle base. But he didn't get the high ground, and I think he's just going to get cleaned up.
Yeah, I think he's given up too many tanks for that counter attack, and the rallies plus all of the units that were up here at the top center will just come forward, clear all that out, and now Royal can re-establish the space and take a very strong position on these high grounds to the right.
Dropships. I'm actually surprised that it's Barracks that has so many dropships. I thought it would for sure be Royal with the mass drops to try and just doom drop Barracks, but I guess this is also Barracks' only play, is he's got to do something. He can't get around the tanks any other way, so he might as well go for a drop. If he can drop top left, at least he'll shut that down.
It's a reasonable decision considering the desperate circumstances. He cancels that base, forces to cancel there, and kills a couple of tanks, but he's got the top side completely wide open. There's no tanks defending his top right. He's got a rally point up there, but he doesn't have an established tank line that's going to be able to stop Royal. If he just wants to roll across the map, he absolutely can.
He's going to go all the way into the main. Okay, he's going to sit here. Well, he's going to get everything seized up, so this is going to be an effective trade for him. I'm trying to look on the map. Is there anything else going on? I don't see anything else going on, so he doesn't really get much there with that drop. Just loses a ton of his units. Lost a couple of drop ships.
Yeah, this is desperation mode for Barracks. He's nearly 50 supply behind, and as he loses those drop ships, a lot of his utility is gone from this army. He can't do some sort of really big drop to start to add some more chaos back into this game, and as the numbers stand, if it's just going to be a numbers game between these two, Royal will certainly end up winning. There has to be some sort of a finesse play from Barracks to make a comeback. He's going to try and drop down here, I guess. Oh my gosh, he loses the dropship. He's flying right through turrets. I think this is going to be the end here, Nyoken, as he loses drops flying into the main. He's only going to get 5 tanks out of these dropships. He's got a couple Goliaths here to make sure that he doesn't just straight up get cleared by Wraiths, but with the army coming back, he certainly will be able to stop that attack from really doing too much damage to his building. His infrastructure is going to be okay. And at the same time, Royal is clearing out bases in the top right.
Middle fell. Looks like top right's about to fall. And yes, that drop's going to do damage, but it's more of just a nuisance. He's going to kill some depots. Who cares about depots when you're going to have, like, 7, 8 bases? He can rebuild those instantly, but Barracks, on the other hand, I guarantee you he cares about top right. Actually, what happened? I saw a big blob of green just here. Okay, maybe those were vultures that disappeared, but Barracks will hold this.
Barracks desperately clinging to life with this base in the top right. He is so far behind in bases and so far behind in workers. 81 is a lot, though. We really want 82 SCVs here as Royal.
You actually do really want a lot of SCVs in Terran versus Terran because you want to mine out as much as possible ASAP, then sack them, sack bases, and just go battle cruisers. Like, you really don't want to be on 55 because of what I was saying. And also with the units being so expensive, you need as much money as possible. But Barracks, what does he do here? He lost, 4 dropships a minute ago. Now he just lost 5 more. Oh, it looks like Royal's going to drop this 3rd base.
Finally, we have some dropships coming in for Royal. He's going to really start to ravage this SCV count. And this is something that he can actually replace. Barracks, his drops, kind of irreplaceable. He's not going to be able to get those out easily. He doesn't have the income. He doesn't have the money. 45 workers left. Yes, this gets cleaned up, but Royal can just make more drops. He can make more stuff. He's going to max out again very quickly. He's got a big bank going, and he's taking more bases. He can continue to do this. He can continue to drop these bases, and as Barracks loses more SCVs, he is just not going to be able to keep up in production. Here comes an attack over towards the top left, but Royal is already on top of this, bringing more reinforcements up here to stop this attack and push everything back once again. These dropships are going to have to run for it. That's a lot of Goliaths.
Gotta say, the movement and the shadowing of each other's armies are really good. Like, every time Barracks makes a move towards the top, I'm thinking like, wow, maybe this is the moment. Maybe he can get into a position. But Royal's right there, matches it, says, no, sir, you are not going to get any type of play onto my top middle base. And we've been seeing consistently both players making those types of moves, not allowing ground from either side. Another drop comes in, but it just gets 2 tanks, and it still doesn't even get onto the key ground that allows him to get top middle.
No, he's fighting a losing battle. Trying to gain a little bit of space on the map, try to get another base up, but regardless if he gets this top center up or not, he's still going to be light years behind Royal, who can do basically anything he wants. He can switch into battle cruisers right now if he wants. Nyoken, he can do anything. Set up a bunch of the starports. We can see like 10 starports go up in the top left, and he would still have money left over.
And it looks like Royal has found an opportunity, like, hey, you're attacking a little bit too much. You can't be everywhere at once. So he goes for the mineral only. He is going to get counter dropped here. And I think actually Barracks, this play from Barracks is a good move. He's going to shut down a key gas base. There's a ton of tanks. Is he focus firing though? It looks like the answer is no, because I see a lot of vultures dying.
Looks like he lost almost every dropship, by the way. 2 dropships left over after that attack. There was a ton of turrets in that base, so it makes sense. Did manage to unload a lot of that, and he killed quite a few SCVs, but still 75 SCVs here for Royal. He's not upset about that at all. He'd much rather trade out army. And there it is, GG. Barracks just gonna tap. It was a foregone conclusion for a little bit, but he wanted to stick in there, see if he could make something happen. Royal gets a win back. He starts the comeback.
Finally a point on the board on the board for Team Royal, and that was a really good game. Like I said, the movement was really good from both sides. Royal just a little bit faster on the gun. He had a lead, you know, from like, what, 10 minutes and beyond. Like, you could see the power of that third base kicking in really well for him. Now, we're going to be going into Game 5, which is going to be Monty Hall. And, you know, Monty Hall is a map where if you've got good multitask, if you got good harassment type of play, if you're good with dropships, you're really going to excel there. So players that come to mind, Sharp, Light, Flash. A lot of times when I watch Royal play, he plays with dropships a lot. But when I watch Barracks play, a lot of times I don't see him use dropships that much. Like last game, yes, I realized he used quite a bit, but I actually think I like Royal here a little bit more.
Or Monty Hall, It did seem like his drop play was a little bit stronger. He was able to seize control of the air domination as well. This is just such a weird map, though. Yeah. I wonder if Light's tutoring is really going to come into play for this map particularly. It's going to help out Barracks or not.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Cruiser is gone for a moment, which is why we're filling in space right now, but he'll be back pretty soon. You know, I was talking about how Barracks and Light, they've got really good, solid vulture timings, but, you know, does that really come into play on Monty Hall? I'm not too sure, admittedly, because as soon as this map was put into the map pool, I immediately vetoed it. I have played 0 games on here, because I remember from, you know, 15 years ago playing on it, thinking like, no, this map is just too crazy. I'm never going to play it. So I'm curious if somebody will come up with something crazy here, like Proxy Factory, like we saw on Pantheon, or what we're going to have for build orders. We've got cross spawns again, Royal in the top left, and Barracks in the bottom right.
Well, I think if you can come up with a good build that involves a proxy and make it work here on Monty Hall, it's going to be powerful, especially on this map, because so many players are going to open with a CC first. There's just not a lot of pressure you can do with a normal vulture play or marine play. And so taking a CC, it just makes sense to optimize your economy early game. So if one of these players comes up with some sort of creative solution to getting some pressure going in the early game, I think that's going to be strong here.
Remember when this was first played in Pro League? I think it was Flash that built a gas at the natural base, then sent a few SCVs and alternated mining minerals and mining gas, and then mined out the center and just went for like a BBS. I think it was versus Bisu. So there's definitely a lot of cheese builds. Oh, look at this, 11 gas from both sides. Oh no, not from both sides, just from Barracks at bottom right.
Yeah, that is a legendary game, what you're talking about, Nyoken, between Bisu and Flash. A lot of players were very mad that Flash cheesed out Bisu, but it was kind of it wasn't really recognized at the time for the genius that it was, but it was incredibly smart, and it was a really interesting moment where we got to see, you know, the beginning or the sort of the flickering of the genius that was behind Flash and where he would become, or what he would become in the future.
That was, I think, the first time I'd ever seen somebody do that, where you mine gas, alternate mining minerals, and then mine out. Like, I had never seen that before. It was really, really smart. And I do want to point out, not only was this 11 gas, it was gas before racks. So the only reason you're doing gas this quickly is you must be doing mega all-in on one base. What type of all-ins do you have in turn versus Terran? Well, you could go tank Goliath, but you don't really need that much gas. So the only thing that makes sense here is it's gotta be an all-in 2-port Wraith.
All-in 2-port Wraith. That is diabolical. Let's see if it ends up working. Barracks continuing to mine that gas. He's getting ready for what should be an added starport, possibly, like you said, 2-port, but Royal, on the other hand, I keep getting messed up because his name is last in game. Why would you do this to me, Royal? Royal is going to throw down his CC here in a moment. and he might be under a lot of pressure, especially if you... do you ever get an armory right off the bat when you go for this type of play? There's almost no chance he's going to have an armory right away, right?
Yeah, a common build is one fact, command center, you go for an armory, because if you don't have intel and they go Wraith, I mean, you're screwed. Like, you don't want to be caught with your pants down having no army. So there is a chance that he'll put down a fast army. I'm actually really surprised that Barracks did not proxy a starport here. I thought for sure that if you're going to go for 2-port like this, and you're going to be this all in, you know, mining that much gas, I thought for sure he would really want to hide cloak, because pros are going to know, like, okay, he can have this amount of race at this moment in the game, but there's no way he can have cloak with it. But because he's mined so much gas so early, he's going to have the same amount of race and also have cloak. So I think it's really important that he hides the cloak, but he just built it in his main. Now Royal really needs to find this. When he finds it and sees, like, wait, dude, your starports are blinking constantly while also having cloak, you must have gone gas first.
Royal sending that Barracks in now. There's only one Marine. There's the armory. Okay, very important that he starts that. I don't think he's going to be able to just continuously deny it with the timing on the armory. These two Wraiths are going to be coming across the map right as that's finishing up. And look at this. The Barracks heads directly over towards these starports. Is he going to see the blinking cloak, though? Wait. He's not seeing it. I don't think he has vision of the cloak. Okay, he's moving over to the right. I think he's just barely going to see it, and he will start an eBay or an armory just to get that vision. There it is. He sees it. Very important that he gets that full scouting information. There's the engineering bay as well. How do you feel about the position now that everything's been scouted?
I actually really like Royal's position, because I think his Goliaths are going to be out in time. He's got his eBay split up from the armory and the academy, so I don't think that's going to be denied. And the Rack saw the comsat, or not the comsat, the add-on. I thought for sure that he's just going to continue to kill the Racks to make sure that this guy couldn't see the add-on, but maybe he thought he had already seen it. And there's no add-on onto the factory, so it's not like it's a tank 2-port Wraith, you know, all in, you know, where you also have to deal with tanks. It's just Wraith you have to deal with.
Well, he's going to be able to deny some of these turrets that are being built. They get a few extra kills here as the transition into these comsats is happening. He's just starting the comsat now, so with the two Goliaths, as soon as that comsat is done, this harassment is kind of over. But this is a lot of kills. A lot of SCV kills. He's drawn to just 24, but he's got 2 CCs and he's got better tech. 2-port Wraith is not going to be a long-term game plan. There's already turrets up now. Yeah, this is pretty much over, this attack.
Oh, I thought he was going to scan and get those 3 Wraiths. But yeah, that did do a lot of damage. He's up 7 workers. And normally I would agree. I don't think Wraiths are the actual greatest on standard maps. But when you're on a map like Monty Hall, where you go one pathway, you could get potentially countered on the other pathway, you need to have units just be able to get there ASAP. And Wraiths, well, they don't care about terrain. They can fly over everything. So I don't think actually having mass Wraiths here is that bad.
This is a map where you're probably just gonna have to use dropships, and if you've got air control, going for drops is dangerous. Those Wraiths with cloak could suddenly show up and just gun down all of your drops, and then you have no mobility with your army. So we'll see how Barracks leverages this. Another CC starts for Royal. He's going to try and utilize his good position to get another CC going. Here's another one for Barracks as well. These two guys are off of very few factories, taking a lot of liberties here and getting these CCs out very quickly.
Double command center was not what I thought the follow-up was going to be for Barracks, but he's going to get away with it. He's already up 5 workers. He's going to have his third base a little bit faster than Royal, so he's going to even compound that SCV advantage. I keep looking at that armory. Royal's still not upgrading his mech at all, so he's most likely not going to have a massive +2 power spike advantage over Barracks. Now, this is what I was wondering, is when is Royal going to move out? Because he can afford cloak and 2-port Wraith and have a big tank count. So he's going to have tank advantage right now. And Wraiths are not very good versus Goliath. So he needs to take advantage of the advantage that he has right now and try and deny this third base.
Barracks is going to mine out the minerals moving towards the central third base, but he could also lift his CC and go land over at the top side. But he's going to initially bring his tanks forward, set up this tank line. 3 tanks, pretty decent, but like you said, an advantage here for Royal. Will he be able to push through this? I think it's going to be a very close fight if he tries to break through, and the rally point's way closer for Barracks. He's really got his macro stride going now. This is actually looking very good for Barracks now, no?
Yeah, this is good for Barracks. He's got his tanks up into position. But the pressure from Royal's really good because now Royal's actually up in workers. How did that happen? Probably because Barracks was focused on, I need to build units ASAP, not building SCVs. But also, Barracks does have these Wraiths to spot. So Royal, I am surprised that he's this far forward, because if there's ever vision advantage for Barracks, and Royal's not paying attention, these tanks get sniped.
Absolutely. He's going to have to continue to scout, to scan, just to make sure that nothing's being moved over to the side. You can see Barracks poking forward a little bit here and there. He's going to set up these 3 tanks, and this is exactly what we were talking about. 3 tanks all at the same time, going to siege up. Boom, he kills the tank immediately. He's going to go ahead and hit this other one. I can't believe this is trading out evenly, actually. I guess that's because not all of the tanks sieged up at exactly the same time.
It's also because Barracks did not focus fire his tank. The way those tanks were positioned, if he had focus fired the back tank, he would have killed both in one shot and probably lost no tank. So that was a bit of a misstep there from Barracks. I mean, trading 2 for 2 is okay, but it definitely could have been a lot better. And that Wraith, if he loses the Wraith, then he loses vision. And all of a sudden, Royal doesn't have to worry about getting his tanks picked off anymore.
Well, he lost multiple Wraiths during that little trade. So it's more than just the tanks there. The Wraiths are just as expensive, and they provide a lot of utility. Moving around the top side now, Barracks, I guess he's going to hit this from the north, or is he just going to go around it and attack?
Wait.
There's...
he
this
saw
is
it.
crazy. Okay, he sees it.
Yeah, with the rack.
This is gonna be really weird though. The position for Barracks is way off, and he could actually get completely sandwiched by this army coming up from the south.
Oh, the focus fire was not good. Luckily, some of the mines connect to salvage this. Actually, Royal had a better, Barracks' position was better, but Royal had better shots. Those tanks were shooting Vultures or Goliaths or something. Basically, the point is that they were not shooting tanks. However, it draws all the units back, and now Barracks can get outside of his base. I'm looking at Barracks' factory count. What is it? It looks like it's 6 right now. Maybe he's got production advantage. What's going on? Where's Royal's stuff?
No, Royal has missed a production cycle or something. Look, he's got 1,000 minerals in the bank. And Barracks is just pushing in for the win. This is the last lifeline of Royal. He doesn't have any more... there's no more games after this if Barracks wins. So Royal has to make this work. He's going to pull his SCVs. But Barracks is just dominating him now. I guess you can move this CC over towards top right and take that instead as the third base, but Barracks is shoving in towards the main. If he comes forward and just breaks this right now, he's going to be on top of the production.
Yeah, imperative that Royal holds this. Wraiths are leading the trial. Wraiths are pretty expensive. He's going to lose all of them. He's not going to get on top of the production. He needs to just turn around. Yeah, just turn around, man. Keep at least one Wraith alive so you have some vision here. And I would have to rewatch this replay to see, like, what the heck happened. Like, I realized we had a fight in the center, and both players lost a lot of their tanks, but why did Barracks have so much? Because if you look at the factory count, it's 7 versus 6, actually. Royal's ahead in production there. I'm not sure where it went wrong. Okay, now he's moving. This has got to be a mistake.
Well, that's a lot of vultures. They're going to come forward and start to throw down mines. The tanks are not targeting the tanks of his opponent, and so Barracks is going to end up losing this fight pretty handily. But just denying this base, slowing that down, he has done a lot here. It's not over, but I would say Barracks solidly in the lead. Even though he's a little bit behind in his overall worker count and supply, I think that Barracks' position is pretty darn strong.
It's definitely a strong position, but now Royal gets this base back. Why? Why did he do that? He threw away, like, what was it, 7 tanks into 4 in the 4-1? So now Royal's going to re-get this base. I mean, supplies are pretty damn close. Both players have 4 bases. Okay, double starport with the double dropships coming in. Okay, this is one way that he can abuse the Royal here. Royal has absolutely no defense at the top side of the map, by the way.
Yeah, no defense over at the top side, and the main base is pretty exposed as well. Looks like he's just going to head over to that top, hit that 4th base over in top right, and all he has is really vultures to defend that. I think there's a couple of turrets over there in top right. Oh no, it's up on the high ground. I totally forgot about this little high ground peak just above this base. That's going to be so hard to clear, Nyoken.
Yeah, just 2 tanks though. At least these tanks don't have +2. Oh no! Are those
flying
full?
Right through? Oh my gosh. I think they at least had a few units in them, and he's going to lose all of his dropships. Will start to target down a few SCVs, but he's light years behind in this SCV count. Barracks making a few mistakes and giving Royal a good in back into this game.
There's a drop at bottom left. Both players are denying the command center. At least I think that's a drop. There's yellow units down there.
Seems like that may be the case. I don't know if that can actually hit the CC. I think that CC is still being built right now, but as soon as SCVs get transferred there, if there's a big wave of SCVs coming, they're going to get knocked down very quickly. Now, Royal pushing through this middle and breaking the small contain that Barracks had over that spot. Barracks going to reinforce this position, but it looks like we're going to split the map at about this point right here. Ooh, a big mine connection there, actually killing a lot of Royal's army, and Barracks is just going to unsiege or maybe go for it. As a lot of that stuff has been softened up. Tank numbers looking vastly in favor of Barracks, while a few more do make their way forward. And it looks like the tank lines are going to solidify now. Baiting in a few more units here. Barracks did clear up whatever was going on at the bottom center, and he's got his mining going down there now. Still not able to clean up what's gone on, or the tanks that are up at top center, though. Royal is struggling to get that next base going.
Yeah, Royal just now moving his command center to mid-right to try and take the base. But he's like on 1 base mining, so his main base is mined out. The top middle base is mined out. He just has his 3rd base. Now, that was not the greatest of trades, but it is Terran versus Terran, where you can still hold, you know, with a minimal amount of units. Like, tanks and vultures are just so effective defensively. I don't think Barracks is going to get punished. Look at this. He's got a Wraith follow-up.
A Wraith follow-up just to shut down dropships and solidify these positions. It's going to be very hard for Royal to deal with the mobility of Barracks. That's going to be coming up here soon. Dropping on top of this pair of tanks over the high ground. We'll finally get to mining over at that 4th. But in the meantime, trying to move out here. Oh, big mine connections as he starts to move forward. Looks like the CC will survive, and Barracks and Royal are actually kind of moving towards each other with their expansions, getting closer and closer. I think this favors Barracks. Oh my gosh, he's sniping a bunch of these dropships. That's a huge snipe. Killing off those drops is absolutely massive, and he's going to get some tanks as they get landed out here. One big repair to try and keep that alive, but I don't think he can keep that alive for long. More of the SCVs are going down. I guess a turret will finish, but I was trying to say this situation actually favors Barracks quite a bit because they're fighting over the right-hand side, and Barracks is just being allowed to freely take over bases on the left.
Yeah, this is a crazy game. Royal has now gotten his own 5 bases, 5 versus 5. And I do want to point out that neither player has +2 weapon. And in fact, when we looked at Royal's main, his armory was not spinning. so there's no chance of +2 being on the map anytime soon. Not sure if Barracks is his armory spinning for +2 himself, but I'm worried about this mid-right base because it's obviously a much closer rally point for Barracks, whereas Royal's got to, run all the way across the map to get units over here. Also with the double starport, I mean, he could just go around the edges on the right side, drop that base, or also just go all the way to the left. He knows that all the units are over there, and he could drop the main.
The main is so exposed. There's almost nothing over on that left-hand side for Royal to spot. For a drop that could be coming in, he's going to try and push forward a little bit more. He's got a nice tank line. He's got a lot of Goliaths here, so not going to be a good idea to try and drop on top of that. Instead, Barracks sending this drop ship line forward. He's actually going to move through the middle and try to slide up towards that top center. Looks like that's been denied as well. Good movement from Royal, but there's so many different angles that Barracks could take. Once he realizes that the left-hand side is open for a direct path into the main, I think he'll end up taking that. No, he's going to dive forward right on top of this tank line. He's going to take over this area here. Army is being sent over by Royal to try and reinforce his position, but it's too late. The CC has already been pushed away. A lot of these SCVs are going to go down. Big mine connection there actually kills a lot of his own vultures, but he's managed to take over this position. He's going to maneuver this tank line forward, cutting off another base for Royal.
This is perfection. He's playing the map. He knew that it's Monty Hall. The drops, the race, they can float over all of the terrain. Used the drop as a bait to force units out of position. Knew they were out of position. Knew that it would take them longer to get back. Took his moment of opportunity to drop there and immediately denies that base. Now he still has the drop ships alive. If Royal tries to take top right, he may be slow on the gun to get units up there too. He actually has one drop ship, but it's only 2 Goliaths.
Oh my goodness. Royal was trying to take top right, but this drop is way ahead of him. That's way too many dropships as well. He's going to be able to hold that high ground and maybe even, like, not just prevent this base, but get over on top of the mineral line of the top center. That is like one of the last mining bases remaining. Royal is mining out just about everywhere. His main is mined out. Top center is mined out. This space is going to be denied. Where is he mining right now?
Yeah, he's like that. He's just mining his third base. And we do have +2 weapon from both sides. But I was going to say is Barracks is just playing out of his mind. And Barracks, I've mentioned in several casts before that Barracks knows how to use his tank. Like, he instantly sieges and unsieges, really pushes really fast. And he went from, taking that mid-right base to also pushing top middle so quickly. And at the same time, he's got drop ships moving his tanks over to this could be it. If he holds this base, I feel like Royal might just GG.
Yeah, he's been able to hold so many different bases on the map. He's got so much good mining going. Royal still has a little bit of money left over, but he's mining on one base. He's trying to get that second base up. If he can't deny at least one of these bases from Royal, the differential is going to be way too big. And it's going to be a numbers game at that point. No matter what Royal does, the overwhelming mass of units is going to be coming forward from Barracks. I don't think there's any way he can contest it.
So much action going on that Barracks even forgot about taking his gas at mid-right, by the way. And gas is so important in Terran versus Terran that I can't imagine a player forgetting about it. That is 8 dropships. I guess Royal never killed any dropships. And all Barracks has to do now is figure out where's the weak point. I think it's very clear if he can go to, bottom left and then up towards the main. That's it, because you're not dropping here, I don't think. There's 6 tanks.
Well, looks like he will end up dropping the tanks up on this high ground. He can get an angle where he can hit the SCVs and prevent the gas without these tanks firing back, and he will hit that angle. Now going to move around with the dropships, maybe go for that bottom left like you were talking about. Here's Royal with 4 dropships actually stopping mining down at bottom center. This is a really good move from him.
And that's a real slugfest. How many bases do both players have? It's 5 for Barracks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but only 4 of them mining now. Meanwhile, it's 5 for Royal too, but only 4 of them mining. And both players are starting to take their middle bases. okay, Barracks has had enough of this drops. He's loading up even SCVs into this so that he can make sure he clears this out.
Drop a few SCVs in the midst of the tanks. Go ahead and clear that out pretty handily. That was a very good clear. Didn't really lose too much to get rid of those tanks, and now he can get back to mining over at the bottom left here. He's moving into position now onto Royal's high ground to potentially shut down that mining base. No, he's just going to dive right on top of this army. Will be able to clear that out. With the reinforcements coming up, he may also be able to deny center left.
Dude, he's so fast. He's so fast. He already had the units on siege. He's on top of this base again. And Monty Hall is just so hard to reinforce these far bases. You can see that Royal's sending units, but they're vultures. Vultures are not going to deal with this army. He needs those to be 10 tanks instead.
I agree with you. He is spending all of his money as well, whereas Royal's having a hard time macroing and keeping up with all this action. At the same time, he's finally getting some macro rounds out to come and reinforce this position, but already here's Barracks in a great spot, going to be able to deny this gas, which is so important. That gas geyser, absolutely necessary because so much of the gas has been stopped. A desperation counter drop from Royal, but it's going to be immediately dropped upon by Barracks, and I think that's it. That's got to be the end of this game as he shuts down that one final desperate attack. Royal is in a chokehold, and Barracks has cut off his windpipe completely.
This is one of the best TVTs I've seen. I gotta say, like, maybe the Barracks being a in the beginning was a cancer, maybe that was it, but like the multitask is really freaking good. And it's crazy. It's not like Royal didn't counter either. I mean, Royal's multitask was good too, but he just got completely outplayed here. And Barracks, he should take this 4-1. Finally, Royal's gonna clean this up, but it's way too late.
Yeah, shout out to Barracks for throwing away his army in that early game, giving us a great mid and late game TVT. If he had played that out perfectly, I think he could have just straight up won early on in this game, but GG is finally called now. He does end up taking it home. It just took him a lot longer, and we got to see some really impressive micro, macro, and army movement on the side of Barracks and Royal, just Barracks being a little bit quicker.
This was really freaking good by Barracks. I can't believe it, man. Barracks, all of a sudden, you know, he used to be like a round of 32, round of 16 type of ASL player. Then he got really far this season. He did really well the previous season, and now he's actually in the finals of the StarCastTV Star League. I can't believe it. His bracket is insane, too. He had no easy opponents. In fact, he probably had the hardest opponent of them all in PVT. Snow beat him 3-1. Beat down JYJ 3-2. And then he 4-1s Royal. Are you serious? Oh my gosh. And you know, this sets us up for an epic final match, regardless of whether it's mini or light. If we've got mini, we've got Terran versus Protoss. And mini plays, you know, crazy builds. If we've got Barracks versus light, then we've got Mentor versus Mentee. And I don't know, man. Like, Barracks is on fire. Can he really win the whole thing?
I mean, that's got me in my feelings right now, Nyoken. If we see light versus Barracks, and we end up seeing the moment where the mentee excels past the master, when he finally, you know, gets a win over light in the finals, that would be such a powerful moment and kind of a passing of the torch. I wonder if Barracks would be, you know, what is his mental state like when he goes up against light in the finals? That is really something to dig into, but we won't know whether or not it's going to be light or mini until the round of 4 is complete. Mini versus light coming up next. That's going to be such a fun match to cast, Nyoken.
Yeah, you would hope that mini can put up a good fight versus light, but I remember some stat from a couple years ago where light just doesn't lose to mini. So even though, like, looking at the names, you're thinking that this is going to be a good matchup, I think light is a massive favorite based on what I remember seeing So hopefully we've got a good series. Either way, the finals and the third place matchup are going to be very epic. We've got, great matchups regardless of who face off versus each other. I'm really happy for Barracks because even though I'm an enjoyer of seeing, 1 to 2 players dominate forever, like Flash or Light carry the torch of Terran, I really feel very happy for players that have dedicated their whole lives to playing StarCraft and finally getting the results that they deserve. So well done to Barracks. He's going to be the first one into the finals. And that is it today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to Saiyan for helping me cast today. And I look forward to seeing you guys in our next round of 4 matchup, which will be Mini versus Light.